Hello, I'm Chuck Phillip with South Alabama Home Inspections, and welcome to another edition of Southern Home Talk. And I'm going to go over some things that I think could be potential deal killers, is what some people like to call it. And I'm going to go ahead and start off with the electrical system. I mean, this can be pretty expensive to replace. And if you're looking at some of these older homes, especially ones built in the 60s and 70s, there's some potential that it can have what's been reported to be defective and hazardous breaker panels. This is one of them that's been reported. It's called a Federal Pacific Stab Lock breaker system. See if I can zoom in on it. It'll actually say stab lock on it. And so, basically what's been reported with this is that there's poor connection at the stab, and also breakers not tripping when they should. And that's kind of what that looks like right there. That's why they call it, this actually stabs into the center. But there's been other panels other than this one too that's been reported to have issues. Now, that's not all the houses, so not every house has this sort of problem. Now, another thing too, in houses that were built between 65 and 74, not all, but there were a good many of them where they used aluminum wire. That's what you're looking at there. Usually has a black sheathing on it, and this can be a potential problem. And also in the 90s, or 80s and 90s, they used polybutylene. That's this gray pipe you're looking at. You can see where they bridged over the PEX. And, that could be a problem. And usually, if I see a lot of repairs in it, that kind of tells me that there was problems. But also know there's been some defective PEX out there too. Now, I don't see this too much, but if you have a house you're looking at that may be built in the 50s or 40s and 50s and some early 60s, they may have used galvanized pipe, and that's just not a good product to use. But other than that, just know that when you're looking at older homes, they're going to have older systems, and that's just what it is. And so you're really going to have a pretty high tolerance level for a lot of this stuff. And I think what it boils down to is how long are you planning on living in the home. If you really like this house, you think it's going to be your forever home, then I would have a pretty high tolerance of a lot of this. I just would. Now, if you're only going to be here for a few years or whatever, that's something you might want to consider as well. It's just that everyone has a different tolerance level of what's acceptable to them. Now, if you're real handy, that could make a big difference as well, because you're probably not going to have to pay a lot of money doing the work yourself to kind of do some of these upgrades. Now, one problem is we have a lot of flippers that are going around and they're doing an outstanding job of addressing cosmetic problems, but they're not addressing the real issues that the house has, and that's like the electrical and plumbing, that sort of thing. I'm gonna go ahead and put this up so I can get where I can talk to you. Now, the main thing I wouldn't let stop me from buying a home would be cosmetic issues, and like popcorn sealants. I had some houses sales not go through because of popcorn sealants, and I think that's silly. Because one, what I would do is I would get a ladder and go up and feel that surface, and if it feels like it's up there really good, this is how I would go about dealing with it. I would just mix up some really thick paint, and you can probably even add some drywall mud to that paint to make it really thick, and just simply coat over it. I mean, that's what I would do. It beats having to scrape all that stuff off. And you may have, if it is loose in some areas, well, that might be the areas you might want to scrape down. I would just take the path of least resistance with that. And also I've had some customers that, I don't know if they went through it with it or not, but they were concerned about asbestos ceiling tiles and some of the asbestos tiles on the side of the home. And that certainly wouldn't stop me from buying the house, because, based on what I've researched with that, you pretty much have to grind on it, for that to become a problem. And so these are the sort of things that me personally would not stop me from buying a house. But just know, even if you buy a brand new home, you're going to have maintenance, and you're going to have more of it as it gets older. Now, the good thing about an older house is they're usually going to have very good bones, because the wood back then was old growth lumber, and it's really strong. I live in an older house. Mine was built in '64, and I like my house, and I have to do maintenance on it. I do, but it's been through a lot of hurricanes, and so this is standing testimony of how well this house is built. And that's another good thing you get when you look at some of these older houses. It has history of how long it's been there, and sometimes, if there are going to be any foundation problems, usually that's going to occur within the first 5 years maybe. It can still occur way down the road as well, because there's all kinds of things that can affect that. But the good thing is a standing home has history that you can evaluate, where a brand new home you don't know. I mean, it's probably going to be really good the first 1 or 2 years, and maybe good for the rest of your life, but you're not going to know until it develops history of how really good it is. Now, you will be sacrificing, in some cases, amenities, with older houses, depending on your taste. But, that's, there again, subjective. I think the main thing I want to try to get across is that you should yourself should do most of your legwork finding the home, and don't put that off on your realtor. As much as your realtor would love to find you the perfect home, only you can really determine that, and you'll save yourself a lot of time and the realtor a lot of time by taking it upon yourself to go in and do some legwork evaluation of these houses before getting your realtor involved. Because it's just a waste of everybody's time if you don't do that. Primarily go and look at the neighborhoods, look at the traffic patterns there, and if you're at an open house, take your shoes off and walk the flooring, especially on the second level, and see if you can feel any unevenness in the flooring and stuff like that. If it has a crawl space and it has a really low clearance, that's something you should be concerned about. And so these are the things, if you can address at the head end, will save yourself and your realtor a lot of time and a lot of heartache too. And so, just do your due diligence and take your time. This shouldn't be a rushed process to find a home, especially as much money as they cost right now. And just know that all of them will have problems, so they just are. And my reports are pretty long, and the reason why they're long is not really just to point out every little problem. It's really a manual for you to go and address the issues in that report. A lot of these things that are in the report are not the seller's fault, and not stuff the seller should have to deal with. These are things that you are going to have to do as part of normal maintenance and preventative maintenance to keep the house up, and that's why they're really informative. This is starting to pick up. I'm starting to get a lot of general condition inspections, which I do for homeowners that already have a house, already moved in, because for the manual, it actually tells them how to prioritize certain problems that they may have or prevent future problems. And so they're really informative, these reports. And all I can offer you is just to do your inspection only that day, and I only do one a day for that reason. And it also takes the next day for me to get the report to you, because I take a lot of time doing the report, and that's what you would want. You want someone thorough, you want someone to give you a really good report, to reflect back on and help you know the home and the house systems that you're dealing with. And so there's more than I'm leaving out. I always can't remember everything when I do these. And so for that reason, it'd be a good thing to go and like the Facebook page, because I am going to put some follow-up to this there. Have another video as well on what to expect when buying a house in this area that's pretty informative too. And so, yeah, just like the Facebook page, Southern Home Talk, and subscribe to this channel. A lot of videos here that are going to help you. They're going to save you thousands of dollars, because knowledge is savings, and we live in a really challenging area down here as far as the climate. But I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Please feel free to reach out to me and leave any comments down below, and I will answer them. Thanks for watching.